Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Amy and I don't usually film journaling videos ever. I wasn't even sure if I was going to do a 2025 book journal setup, but here we are after much deliberation and a last minute decision to give it one last go, because as you can tell, I've been attempting to keep a book journal since 2021 when I first got back into reading, but it really never stuck. I've literally started monthly layouts and planned pages and left them blank because it was too time consuming. The funny thing is I love setting it up and making cute little scrapbook style pages, so I really do hope 2025 is the year that all of this sticks. Also because in my personal opinion, these pages I've done are probably my best yet. The journal I'm using and have always used in the past is the Lightrum 1917 in the size medium with dotted pages. Dotted pages are the best. You can argue with the wall about it because I will not be convinced otherwise. We're gonna start off with a cover page because I think that's so important, especially for me because I tend to use the same journal for numerous years because I don't really fill it up as quickly. I also do use a fair bit of supplies, but I'll try to link what I can below. But some of these things I've had since 2021 and could not tell you where I got them from. For example, that set of random sheets of paper, not a single clue where I got those from, but I do love the vintage touch that they add to the spreads. Honestly though, you don't need all of those fancy supplies. I do print a lot of things out too, like the Winnie the Pooh focal point of this page. I'm obsessed with the quote, "As soon as I saw you, I knew a grand adventure was about to happen," because that literally perfectly encapsulates how I feel about a book. Those floral stickers, however, I did get from Amazon, so I can link those down below. But I also got this book stamp for Christmas that I've been so obsessed with, so I thought it'd be a really cute addition to the page as well. I've seen people get so creative with the spread all over Bookstagram. There's things as intricate as full-on bookshelf drawings with little windows, and inside the windows there's little sceneries, and then they like color in each of the books to help track what they've read for the year. As much as I love how those look aesthetically, they also look insanely time-consuming. Personally, I prefer to keep it simple for my reading tracker, even though it still feels so tedious to draw every little box for each of the books I've read. Like, my goal for the year is to read 150 books, but I don't even think that I drew enough boxes for that just because it didn't fit the page, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. I also decided to track the books based on my rankings for them because I love to see the data and trends, and I just want to see how colorful this can get. And then I just cut up a little piece of paper, taped it on both the sides so it flips as a little reference key for all the colors that I'm using for each rating. Speaking of statistics and trends, these next two pages are all of that and more. I've never done these pages before, but I think they're going to be so fun because one of my 2025 goals is to also develop a habit for reading. So this 13 by 31 chart is going to help track if I'm reading daily. I basically just marked each month on top, and then going down I'm going to color in each box for each of the days that I've read, and then I use this black marker to block out the days of the month that don't exist. But I was so happy with how it was coming out until I realized that same marker bled through the page. I did eventually find a way to cover that up, thank goodness, but this is why I love this junk journal scrapbook style so much, because it literally doesn't have to be perfect, which makes it so much easier to go with the flow and just have fun with things. And when you mess up, you can easily like just work with it. And instead of a rating, I'm going to color code this table by the format or style of reading I did for that day. If you can't already tell, my favorite rule of thumb is to keep adding things to a page until it looks right. You're gonna see me just add so many stickers and just do random things until I'm really happy with the results. And then on the other side of this page, I'm gonna make a little bar graph style tracker with the months on each of the edges. And like right here, you see that I've messed up literally stamping a J upside down, but add a little bit of whiteout and you're good as new. But this page is basically to track how many pages I've read for that month and how many books I finish each month in this sort of bar graph style. I'm just so excited to see how everything looks once it's all filled out. I'll do monthly updates where we can fill out my book journal together, so you can also see how each of these spreads progress throughout the year. And yes, my solution to covering up the marker bleed was absolutely to put a piece of paper over it like it was a band-aid, because why overcomplicate things if you don't have to? And having a dotted journal comes in so clutch too, because you can use it to line up the boxes over the part of the piece of paper without anything and not have to worry about things looking weird. And if you couldn't already tell, this is my book bracket spread, but what's so funny is it only took an hour into doing this for me to realize that I never even lit my candle, but the candle is from Demo World collection from Popmart, and I'm obsessed with the green color. But back to the spread, this is my book bracket spread where I pick my favorite of each month and they battle it out for the honor of being my favorite book of the year. And with that honor comes being memorialized in that little brown frame with a pretty butterfly in the corner. And above all of that, on that side of the page is going to be my top 5 books of the year, because it's always so hard for me to pick favorites. Now come what I like to call the fun pages, which is going to be these next 2 spreads. I've never done any of these before, but I came across them when I was binge watching reading journal setup videos, and they're one of my favorite things to watch, so that's what made me want to film my own. But I knew I had to incorporate them in 2025. On the left hand side is the alphabet challenge, where I'll try to read a book title for each letter of the alphabet. Right now there's no book that comes to mind that starts with the letter Z, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do for that letter, or if it's even possible to complete this challenge. I'm sure there's going to be a book out there in the world, but I'm not going to be too strict with these challenges, but they're just a fun way to motivate me to read more and diversify my reading a little bit. On the right hand side though is my bookish bingo with prompts of things I would want to try or would want to incorporate more often into my reading. I also try to mix and match everything, so a lot of it is different types of books that I can read or fun things to try, but not all of it would be in one row. There's things like blind dates with the book, doing a buddy read, reading translated work, reading a childhood book of mine, finishing a series. Just making this spread has made me so excited, but I know I'm definitely gonna stick to this because it just looks so fun. You guys aren't even ready for this next spread, and I say this with absolutely no exaggeration, but I felt like I struck gold when I came up with the concept for this. It's a blind date with a book spread, and ideally this will help me get through my physical TBR. The books I printed out are a mix of ones that I've been putting off for forever and should definitely unhaul if I don't read it, and also of ones that I've been super excited to read. That way I'm not dreading the idea of using this and thinking that it's just books that I wouldn't want to read. But I basically use craft paper to cover up the books, and I add a vague description of each of the books, mainly to help cover the book up more. Fair warning though, this spread is only effective if you also have the memory of a goldfish like me. I know I'm not the only one who starts so many series and never completes them, but this is a series tracker to hopefully motivate me to finish the hundreds of series that I'm in between. I feel like a kid, but truly having a box to color in actually does so much for me in terms of motivation. And journaling tip, as much as I love the alphabet stamp set, which I highly recommend getting for the style of journaling, you don't 100% need it. Like, I printed out these letters, added a little number to it so it resembles a Scrabble tile, but you can get so creative if you want to. Literally, the sky is the limit. Next, I love to do an anticipated release spread. There's so many books that I'm so excited for, but I printed out a few to highlight, and it's in no particular order. And then I intentionally leave the other side blank for me to track any additional books that I wasn't already aware of. And if you're curious to see what other books I'm super excited for that are releasing in 2025, I yap all about that in my last video. This next spread is another reading journal must. It is the 25 books I want to read in 2025. I had some trouble figuring out how to lay this out because it's an odd number, and last year was a nice and even 6x4, so scrambling it was my best solution. I try not to include any of the anticipated releases in this list to try to help minimize my TBR, but there's definitely books like A Little Life that have been on my TBR for years and may continue to be on it pretty much until I'm ready to face my fears. Okay, for this next spread, it can't just be me, but I am honestly always searching up words in the dictionary when I read, which is an amazing thing, but I tend to forget it if I only see it once. So this page is dedicated to all the new words that I learned while reading, and hopefully it helps to diversify my vernacular. Another classic I always incorporate into my reading journals is an area for all the books I've read in 2025. My favorite way, and probably the easiest I've come by, is to just print the pictures out and stick it on. And unfortunately, I only have one book printed so far, and the book is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I was about to do a final flip through when I realized I skipped a whole page, so now I'm going back and turning both of these into my 2025 reading goals and rating system spread, but I try to spice it up a bit. Like, I made this makeshift envelope using some craft paper. It would be amazing to find 10 5-star reads. I definitely want to reread a book. Like, I always feel like there's so many books I have to read, so I never go back to reread a favorite, but I feel like I really should. And then I also have to read A Doorstopper this year because I have big book phobia. And then on the other side, I'm doing a flip open style for my rating system. My rating system is pretty simple, but 1 is a DNF, 2 is I finished it but not really, I did not enjoy it, 3 was it was super fun, would definitely recommend, a 4 4 is I'm telling everybody to read it, and it was near perfection but not a 5. And then 5 was life-changing masterpiece, 6-star Roman Empire read. Now it's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. It's the official final flip through. I'm so happy with how everything came out. This took me way longer than I expected. I forget how long book journal setups take, but all the hours I put in were so worth it because now I'm actually excited to keep up with it. Like, I'm actually so obsessed with how all of these pages came out. The problem is though, I also do digital book review spreads using Procreate, and I have a short of me doing one for Heartless if you're curious, but right now I don't really know how to incorporate that element into this journal just yet. I don't know if I'm going to print out photos from the books and make it very aesthetic, or if I'm just going to write down my thoughts on a book. If you have any suggestions or spread ideas, please tell me in the comments down below. I hope you guys got some fun inspiration from my reading journal. Like and subscribe if you want to keep updated with this. Thanks for joining me. Bye!